All right, I'm ready whenever. From double day to current day, this is Vintage Baseball Rewind, and we bring you five things every baseball fan should know about what happened on December 19th. On today's show, we got Joe DiMaggio, who goes east, a crash landing into Baltimore, Ernie Harwell gets fired, and of course, Doc Ellis as an amazing character.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Fenway Park.
At Mark Fidrich now, each time he gets the ball back, you'll see him mumble a couple of words to the ball. The first man ever to pitch 5 career no-hitters. Touch a ball, Joe!
I don't believe what I just saw!
And it's another chance for Mitchell, and he makes a bare-handed catch!
Ricky goes, a pitch ticket, he's going to have it, leaps high in the air, and he's got it! An incredible catch by the kid!
And let it be said that number 8, Cal Ripken Jr., has reached the unreachable star.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we invite you to rise.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Tom Hannon from Tom's Vintage Baseball. We bring you the voices of baseball. I'm joined today by Matt Musico from MLB Daily Dingers. How's it going today, Matt?
I'm good, Tom. How you doing?
I'm doing good. We're going to jump right into it, and I'm going to bring you some trivia. So this is about a future Hall of Famer. He was signed just a few hours after he graduated from high school. And he is going to break Ty Cobb's record for the youngest batting champ. And he's also going to tie Tris Speaker's record of playing 100-plus games in 19 straight seasons. He made this really interesting quote, which you would never hear today. He was offered a $100,000 salary, and he said, "I don't deserve such a salary. I didn't have a good season last year. The ball club's been good so far, and it's been decent to me, and I'd prefer you give me a rate when I deserve it."
Well, it seems like an honorable man, whoever he is.
Well, we'll find out soon.
Yeah. So we'll start on in 1934. On this day in 1934, December 19th, the New York Yankees send 5 players to the San Francisco Seals of the Pacific Coast League as partial compensation for the acquisition of Joe DiMaggio. The Yankees had previously paid $25,000 for the future Hall of Famer. DiMaggio will play one more season in the PCL before reporting to the Yankees in 1936. In that season, DiMaggio will hit .323 with 125 RBI and helping the Yankees to a World Series title. Whatever the cost ended up being, I'm pretty sure the Yankees got a deal on that.
When I think of Joe DiMaggio, if you look at those first 5-6 years before he went to the war, he was the perfect baseball player. There was nothing he didn't do well. He had average RBIs, power. He played fantastic center field. I, of course, never got to see him other than videos, but my dad said he was the perfect baseball player that for all the players he'd ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we've talked about it before. You take a look at a player's baseball reference page, nothing but bold and nothing but consistent bold. It's just crazy. And to think about what could have been had they not had to go and serve in the war. Thankfully, they did to help us out. But, if they didn't, what could have happened for so many different ball players?
Yeah, if you're a stat geek and you look at his first, before he went to the war, you basically were looking at Albert Pujols for comparison. So we're going to jump ahead. December 19th, 1976. This was a heck of an event when a single engine Piper Cherokee plane crashes into the upper deck in Baltimore's Memorial Stadium, the home of the Orioles, injuring the pilot and 3 others. Minutes prior to the mishap, the plane had buzzed the stadium during the final moments of the Steelers' playoff game over the Colts. The pilot of the Piper Cherokee was 33-year-old Donald Kroner. Kroner served 3 months of a 2-year sentence for malicious destruction of property in violation of aviation ordinances. Kroner had been arrested prior to the stadium incident for making threats against former Colt Bill Pelleton. This included Kroner being accused of dropping a bottle of toilet paper from his plane onto the roof of his house and restaurant. And according to a news report, Kroner was upset over being thrown out of the restaurant. Kroner died in 2013. He had been fired as an MTA bus driver the day before the crash. He'd also been a flight instructor and, according to some accounts, had worked as an air traffic controller. In 1980, he was charged with stealing a Greyhound bus from Dulles International Airport.
thinking about the crash and then being fired. It's a tough week, a real tough week for that guy. All right, so we'll move ahead again. December 19th, 1990. At a press conference, Tiger Management and WJR announced 1991 will be Ernie Harwell's 32nd and final season in the broadcast booth. The dismissal of the Motor City's popular play-by-play announcer starts a furor among fans, which includes a threatened boycott of Domino's Pizza, a business of club owner Tom Monahan, and the rise of the slogan "Say It Ain't So, Bo," which appears on bumper stickers and T-shirts all over Detroit, referring to Bo Schembechler, the team president and former University of Michigan football coach. Harwell's situation is not going to change no matter how much claimer is made over it, said team president Bo Schembechler. The situation caused outrage so much that some made threats of violence against Schembechler. Some, such as Mitch Albom, blamed the situation causing as much negative feeling as it did on WJR executive Jim Long, who was the one who pushed the quick, no severance pay removal of Harwell in the first place. The movement in favor of keeping Harwell was so strong that even billboards in favor of his remaining were put up. Rick Riz was hired away from the Seattle Mariners to replace Harwell in 1992, teaming with Bob Rathman. Harwell worked a part-time schedule for the California Angels in 1992. The following year, the Tigers were purchased by Mike Ilitch, who made it one of his first priorities to bring Harwell back. In 1993, Harwell teamed with Riz and Rathman on WJR broadcasts, calling play-by-play of the middle innings in each game. From 1994 to 98, Harwell called television broadcasts for the Tigers on Past Sports and later on WKBD TV. In 1999, he resumed full-time radio duties with the team, swapping roles with Frank Beckman, who had replaced Riz in the radio booth following the 1994 season. Teaming with analyst Jim Price and continuing in that role as the team's radio rights changed from WJR to WXYT in 2001. During spring training in 2002, Harwell announced that he would retire at the end of the season. His final broadcast came on September 29th, 2002, and Dan Dickerson, who had joined Harwell and Price in 2000, took over as the Tigers' lead radio voice. The thing that jumps out to me here is that the Tigers ownership essentially just a couple of pizza joints, because it's Domino's, and then wasn't Ilitch, I think, he was Caesars, right? Then he owned Caesars and other things as well too. But I think that was his other main thing.
Yeah, pizza. And of course, Harwell was just a historic announcer. And I know a lot of Tiger fans, and they still talk about this when you talk about moments in history that they remember. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't for the good. And they were so glad when he came back.
Yeah. That's something that lives on forever. It's like the Mets fans talking about the Mets trading Tom Seaver, something that people will just never get over, probably.
Go to an entirely different character from Ernie Harwell. And we're going to talk about Doc Ellis, who passed away on this day, December 19, 2008 in Los Angeles. Ellis was a solid pitcher for the Bucs, and he's best known for his June 12, 1970 event, when his name is just going to be etched in Major League Baseball history. That's the night that he pitched a no-hitter high on LSD. He walked 8 batters. He beat the Padres 2-0 on the strength of 2 Willie Stargell home runs. If you've ever heard that interview, it's unbelievable. And I'm going to add it to this podcast when he talks about the whole event. He in 1971, he also had a 14-3 record at the All-Star break. And he's famously said that baseball wouldn't let 2 soul brothers, he and Vida Blue, start the All-Star game together. In hindsight, he should have skipped the All-Star game, because he's the fellow that gave up Reggie Jackson's Titanic blast at Tiger Stadium. He was also the starter when the Pirates became the first team to start 9 black players, which was a historic moment. And Ellis was never one to avoid controversy. He also hit the first 3 Reds on May 1st, 1974, because he felt his team was playing a little lackluster. He's going to eventually be traded to the Yankees. And in 1976, he's going to win the Comeback Player of the Year, winning 17 games. He's going to finish up his career with 138 wins versus 119 losses and a 3.46 ERA. Like I said, at the end of the podcast, I'm going to add that interview about him with the telling his story about when he was high pitching the no-hitter.
I can imagine A, doing that, and then B, watching that and then finding out afterwards what actually happened underneath everything too. Just seems like such a ridiculous series of events.
When he tells the story, have you heard it before?
I have not, no.
very interesting. He tells a story about going to the park. He was already he was stoned when he got to the park, and then he got a bunch of amphetamines from a dealer at the park, and then he took those before the game, and he said that he couldn't really even see. In hindsight, he did have 8 walks, but
yeah, I was gonna say that explains that. So that's good, but still nobody could hit him either.
Right. Well, it's kind of like a Nolan Ryan start.
Yeah.
Could I go home? Because we had an off day. So he said, yeah. So I took some LSD at the airport because I knew where it would hit me. I'd be in my little area and I know where to go. So that's how I got to my friend's girlfriend's house. She said, what's wrong with you? I said, I'm high as a Georgia pine. The next day, which I thought was the next day, she told me, you better get up. You got to go pitch. I said, pitch? I pitch tomorrow. Hell, what are you talking about? Because I had got up in the middle of the morning and took some more acid. She grabbed the paper, brought me the sports page and showed me. Boom. I said, oh, wow. What happened to yesterday?
So before we get to trivia, just a quick word about Tom's Vintage Baseball. We like to say baseball is the only game you can watch on the radio. Tom's Vintage Baseball is all about the voices of the game, announcers, game highlights, and interviews. So today we talked a little bit about Joe DiMaggio. There's dozens of DiMaggio moments, including the 1938 World Series when he faces Dizzy Dean and he hits a home run off of him in the 8th inning, when he becomes the first rookie to start an all-star game in 1936. And of course, with Ellis, there's the 1971 World Series. And Ernie Harwell, he is all over dozens of games on Tom's Vintage Baseball. So you can listen to him call the 68 World Series, along with so many others. There's 300 games for the regular season, and there's over 200 World Series games. They scale from the 30s to 70s, interviews and game highlights. And the cool thing is you can take the recordings anywhere you go with the app. All the regular season games are free to listen to. We have a premium version as well. We have neglected to say this on the other podcast, but we also have a rewards program. So if you head on over, there's free stuff if you want to join that program as well. Tom'sVintageBaseball.com. And Matt, how about that trivia?
Yeah, so this bonus baby was signed by Ed Kaline just a few hours after he graduated from high school. And at the time he signed the contract, he was wearing the suit he was going to wear for his graduation celebration, which is probably some nice symmetry for him as well. In 1955, he broke Ty Cobb's record to become the youngest player to win a batting title. And the player that we're talking about, Al Kaline, was one day younger in 1955 than Cobb had been in 1907 when the Georgia Peach won his first title. And despite a history of injuries, he tied Tris Speaker's record of appearing in 100-plus games in the outfield for 19-plus seasons. A future Hall of Famer, Kaline was born on December 19th, 1934 in Baltimore, Maryland. In his 22-year career, which spanned from 1953 to 1974, the outstanding right fielder had 3,007 hits, 399 home runs, which is the most in Tigers history as well, 1,582 RBI, 1,622 runs, a 297 batting average, a 376 on-base percentage, a 480 slugging percentage, and an 855 OPS. In the 1968 World Series, Kaline batted .379 with 11 hits, which included 2 home runs. Playing his entire career in Detroit, his nickname was Mr. Tiger. He was an all-star in 15 seasons, won 10 Gold Gloves, won that batting title in 1955, and was a member of the 68 World Series champs. His uniform number 6 is retired by the Tigers, and he was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1980 with getting 88.3% of the vote on his first time on the ballot.
Think about Al Kaline, the 68 World Series. He had volunteered to Mayo Smith to come off the bench. But Smith had the other ideas, and that's when he took Ray Euler out and he put Mickey Stanley in at shortstop. He moved Northrop over to center, and he kept Kaline in right. It obviously worked out for him. It seemed like a crazy idea. Could you imagine the Mets taking, moving a center fielder to shortstop in the World Series? It just seems crazy, but it paid off for them as they beat the Cardinals, of course, in 7 games. And Kaline, as you mentioned, he hits .379 with 11 hits and 29 at bats, 2 dingers.
Yeah, it seems like there's always like a couple of events or decisions that will define some kind of huge matchup, like a World Series or winning a championship and things like that. And that's one of those things that will probably live on forever, especially for Tigers fans. You make that kind of decision and it works out. I mean, it's one of those things where you make the decision and you're a genius, and if it didn't work out, you're an idiot. But thankfully, they were a genius. So you don't hear, well, they tried hard in New York. That's for sure.
No, and we're gonna talk about that in the next show when John Rocker gives his opinion about New York, which he was a real character. So that's a wrap for today's show. Hope you had some fun with on the show today, Matt. And where can people find you?
Yeah, no, I had a blast. People can find me on Twitter at mmusico8, and also you can check out MLB Daily Dingers at MLB Daily Dingers on Twitter.
And it's easy to find me at tomsvintagebaseball.com. Hit me up for a chat. And in the show notes, we have links to both Matt's Twitter account, Matt's website, and tomsvintagebaseball.com. So it makes it easy for you to hop on over. We appreciate you joining us for today for Vintage Baseball Rewind. And please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. You can visit tomsvintagebaseball.com for more resources as well. Access to other episodes. I'm putting all the episodes in the community. So we'd love to get your feedback and reach out via Twitter to Matt or me on tomsvintagebaseball.com. And until next